There are people who leave you with a smile on their face. They thought their back was the last blow, that you will break, fall apart, disappear, that you will run after them in desperation. But they don't know, the moment they turn away is the moment they lose the only thing that has ever protected them from falling: your presence. You don't scream. You do not write long statuses of accusation. You don't try to explain to someone who doesn't want to listen. You are silent, and in that silence, you begin to rebuild an empire. From the ashes they thought you would never rise. Life has a very special way of settling accounts. It doesn't need you to take revenge. It doesn't need you to stab it back. It just needs you to disappear at the right moment. You know what really freaks them out? Not your anger, not the words you left unsaid. It is your silence. The disappearance was quiet, but powerful. You don't have to win them over in their own way, because you're not playing the same game anymore. You have stepped off the board. They think you will collapse if you lose them, but actually, they are the ones who lose everything when they lose you. You become still, but in that silence, you are stronger than ever. You not only overcome, you are reborn. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Narrator, slowly, as if concluding. And then, one day, when they realize the things you used to do, used to be, used to keep silent, when they look back and understand that you're gone forever, it wasn't because you were weak, but because you were strong enough to not need them anymore. So what happens inside a betrayed person, and why is silence the most powerful response? Let's explore deeper with the Stoic mindset. There is a kind of pain that does not scream. No bleeding, no bruises left on the skin. But it eats away at you little by little. It is the pain called betrayal. Not from the enemy, not from outsiders, but from the person you trusted the most. You used to think that if you were kind, honest, and loyal, others would do the same. You used to think that if you were there for them in their difficult times, if you didn't leave them in the dark, they wouldn't turn their backs when you needed them. But then one day, they disappeared. No explanation, no apparent reason. And the most painful thing is not that they left, but you sit alone afterwards, quietly asking yourself, where did I go wrong? Am I too gullible? Am I not good enough? You don't just lose one person. You lose some of your faith in yourself. You begin to doubt goodness. You start to feel wary when someone approaches. You no longer believe that love is safe. Betrayal has a strange power. It's not loud. It doesn't explode like a tantrum. It's a silent storm. Little by little, it eats away at you. You laugh less. You breathe more heavily. You're not yourself anymore, at least for a while. But then, if you are brave enough not to run away from pain, if you dare to face it instead of hiding it, betrayal is also an opportunity for rebirth. Because there are truths you only learn after being hurt. There are lessons you only understand when you have fallen. And there is a stronger version of you, only born from the ashes. You begin to realize, betrayal is not a judgment against you. They simply aren't mature enough to handle the light you carry. And what they break is not you. They teach you one thing. Don't put your heart in the hands of someone who is not strong enough to hold it. You don't need to retaliate. No need to justify. There's no need to force yourself to prove you don't deserve to be hurt. Because of your silence, your recovery, is the most obvious answer. You don't need to shout that you are strong. How you stand up, still live kindly, still love this life. It is a statement stronger than any scream. There is a kind of betrayal that does not come from strangers. Not from your haters, not from your enemies. It comes from the place that hurts the most, from the person you trusted the most. Maybe it's a close friend, a lover, a friend I thought would be with me for life. They don't carry knives, but somehow, they still make you bleed. Betrayal from someone close to you doesn't just hurt, it makes you doubt yourself. You wonder, how could I not see that? Am I just blind? Am I to blame? But my friend, you are not naive. You are just sincere. You are not weak. You are just honest. You believed that if you were good, if you were always there, if you gave your full trust, then others would appreciate it. You believed that sincere feelings would be reciprocated with kindness. But the truth is, not everyone is mature enough to hold on to beautiful things. Some people, not knowing how to accept kindness without abusing it, they think you are always there. They get so used to forgiveness that they think you'll never leave. You have given them something sacred, trust. But they were not brave enough to deserve it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Pain doesn't come from the event, but from how you see it." So, stop it. Don't let the mistakes of others be a judgment on your heart. Don't let their indifference define the value you carry. Because of that betrayal, talk more about them, not about you. It reflects their immaturity, insecurity, the fear they feel when they stand in front of the light you radiate, a light they cannot control. They betray you not because you are not good enough. They betray you because you are no longer manageable. Some people leave not because you change for the worse. They leave because you are more mature, clearer, more stable, and that scared them. So, if someone ever leaves you, betrays you, makes you doubt your worth, remember this: that's not the end. It's just a transition. You are learning to differentiate between a companion and a passerby. You are learning not to blame yourself. Just because you have a heart warm enough to give, you are learning one of life's greatest lessons. Not everyone who gets to be close to you deserves you. And if you learn that, then no betrayal is meaningless. You used to think that if someone hurt you, you had to do something in return. Must fight back, must prove, must demand justice. But then you learn one thing. There are battles where silence is the strongest answer. They betrayed you. They abandoned you. They lie behind your back, telling a one-sided story. And you are silent. It's not because you're weak. It's not that you don't know how to fight back, but because you know well, there are things that deserve silence more than excuses. It's not giving up. That is rebirth. That's the moment you stop living to be understood and start living to be free. In Stoic philosophy, reaction is not considered a strength. They consider self-control the pinnacle of character. Because if you can sit with the pain, without trying to run away, without needing someone else to prove you're right, then you've already won. Not to win them, but as to win yourself. You know what makes many people not understand you? Because they don't see the process of you turning pain into strength. They don't see the nights you sit alone, facing the question, why is this happening to me? They don't see the moment you want revenge, want to scream, want to write a really long status, and then delete it. Because deep down, you know, I don't need revenge. I need regeneration. And maybe that's what scares them. Because they think you will chase, cry, and cling. But you don't. You choose silence. It's not that you don't have feelings anymore, but because you know, emotions should not be wasted on those who once despised them. You are not weak. You are stronger than ever. It's just that they don't have the power to see it anymore. And here's the most important thing to remember. Don't regret the pain. Don't wish it never happened. Because without that pain, you would never have a reason to change. You will forever be in relationships that make you shrink to fit them. You will keep explaining to people who never listen. You will keep refilling the glass of water for someone who keeps spilling. Betrayal does not destroy you. It sets you free. Freedom from dependence. No need to be understood. Don't expect everyone to treat you as fairly as you treat them. The world will not forgive you. The traitor will not come back and confess his mistakes. But that's okay. You don't need that. You only need one thing. Decided not to bleed any more from someone else's knife wound. You stand up. You are reborn. And you move on. No fuss. No proof. Because you know, life really begins right where you thought it would end. There is a type of person who does not live by love. They live by your reaction. They need you to be angry, need you to defend yourself, need you to explain. Because every time you get angry, every time you text hundreds of words to make things clear, they are not hurt. They feel they still have control over you. They know every emotional button inside you, and they will click on it over and over again just to see you freak out. It's a manipulator's favorite game. No right or wrong, just make you lose control. But what happens when you stop responding? When the trap message is ignored? When the call in the middle of the night is not answered? When provocations no longer have a response? At that moment, you pulled out the most powerful weapon you ever had: silence. Because silence is not weakness. It is the highest expression of inner strength. You don't need to shout to prove yourself right. You don't need to try to make others understand you. You choose silence. It's not that you can't react, but because you no longer want to give your power to someone who doesn't deserve it. For manipulators, silence is disaster, because they can't control what they don't hear. They can't interpret what you don't say. They can't twist what you keep to yourself. You become a mirror, but it is a mirror they dare not look into. Because in it, they see the truth they have tried to hide. They see an emptiness that no one can fill. They find themselves with no power, no one to manipulate. And the scariest thing for a manipulator, it's not that you hate them. It's that you don't have any feelings for them anymore. Have you ever received a message like this? Why are you suddenly quiet? What's the matter? I see you have changed. Not because they miss you. They're just testing to see which emotional buttons are still active. And if you ignore it, gently, without bitterness, then congratulations. You are an adult. Maturity is not about forgiveness. It's not a clever retaliation either. Maturity is when you no longer want to play that game. You don't have to win. You just need to leave the playground. Keep the peace within yourself. Remember, silence does not mean you lose. Silence is when you choose not to waste another second on people who have made you doubt yourself. And that very moment, When you are silent not because you are helpless, but because you understand, is when you enter a new level of inner strength. You don't need to end with a bang. Sometimes, you just have to walk away, in silence, and let them fall by the very emptiness they create. You wanted them to pay. I want them to wake up one day and realize they have lost the most precious thing. May the injustice you have suffered be properly punished by life. And you wait, waiting for karma, waiting for justice, wait for someone to come out and tell you that you were right. But then, nothing happened. At least on the outside. They still laugh. They are still living well. They still tell the same story. But this time, they are the hero. And you are the weak one. And you wonder, does evil really win? Is there no price to pay for betrayal, lying, manipulation? But then you learn something from Stoic philosophy. Karma is quiet, but always precise. Justice does not come with fireworks or drums of justice. It comes silently, quietly, little by little, and sometimes it's late. But it's never wrong. You don't see them collapse immediately, but you see them begin to live in the very web they have created. People started asking questions, starting to recognize the pattern, starting to feel something is wrong. They are losing supporters, loss of trust, lose the ability to control others like they used to control you. And that is what Seneca said, every guilty man is his own hangman. Because betrayal, lies, abuse of trust, don't just destroy others. It corrodes the soul of the one who does it. You don't need to speak up to expose. Life has its own way. It's not that you're a coward if you don't retaliate. It's not that you're weak if you don't fight back. You just don't want to get dragged into the quagmire they're already familiar with. You can choose another path. A clean road, quiet, but powerful. The path of tranquility, of maturity, of inner discipline. Let them live in that self-made world, where trust is fake, where they always have to play new roles because no one really knows who they are. You don't need to act anymore. You have stepped off their stage, and you're building a life that doesn't need anyone to prove you're right. It just requires you to feel at peace. The great thing is this: you don't need to witness their downfall. You don't need to hear a late apology, because you don't need it anymore. You have been reborn, bigger, stronger, wiser, and you are living in a new world, where what you give, you also deserve to receive. And they, though no one sees them, are slowly being swallowed by what they once sowed. It's not revenge, it is quiet justice, and it always comes right on time. Have you ever sat there, in a silent room, wondering, why did they do this to me? How can they betray, then continue living as if nothing happened? You don't understand, and you feel so small, weak, abandoned. You feel like a victim. And honestly, at some point you've been a victim of a toxic relationship, of manipulation, of a betrayal you never expected. But the great thing is, you don't stay in that role forever. You know, what makes you strong is not that you win them. It's not that you expose them. It's not that you make them apologize. It's when you stop trying to prove them wrong and start proving that you're stronger. Stronger every day. Stronger than the old version of you. The version that suffered, that fell, that waited for an explanation that never came. And what makes them unbearable isn't you being angry. It is you who is indifferent. You no longer care what they are doing, who they are with, or what they are saying about you. You don't check their accounts anymore. You are not trying to send a signal that you are okay, because you are really okay. You don't have to shout that you've passed. You don't have to brag that you're happier than you used to be. Your indifference is the most powerful statement, and that is a punishment they cannot face. Because with the manipulator, the hurtful person, silence and indifference hurt more than revenge. They live off your emotions. They manipulate based on your reactions. And when you stop reacting, they lose all power. You know why you don't need to react? Because you have overcome. Move beyond old emotional loops. Go beyond the need for someone to understand you. Go beyond the desire to retaliate or see them pay. You don't live to prove anything to them anymore. You live to be the best version of yourself. And when you start focusing on yourself, rebuilding yourself, from the smallest things like health, spirit, boundaries, goals, you are no longer a victim. You are the winner. Victory in peace. Victory in maturity. Remember this: revenge is not about their pain. But you are no longer hurt. And if anyone asks, what has changed? Smile and say, I stopped trying to prove anything to anyone. I just proved it to myself. And that's what makes you untouchable. Do you remember that feeling? That feeling when you have to try to explain everything because someone hurt you, but want you to prove that you are worthy. You tried to clarify, ever tried to make them understand. I poured out my heart just to hope they would look at me differently. And then one day, you wake up, you realize that you don't need validation from people who have put you down. From that moment on, something strange happened. You are no longer angry, no more arguing, no more trying to be understood, because you chose to be indifferent. Not cold, not indifferent, but it is indifference to the right person, at the right time, because you understand that your energy is more valuable than fighting a meaningless battle. The person who hurt you will feel uncomfortable not when you cry, but when you no longer care. They will feel the loss not when you get angry, but when you are silent without needing an explanation. You know why? Because they have lost access to your mind and heart. And that's what any manipulator fears. Before, they lived in your mind. You think about them when you wake up. You lose sleep over their words. You question yourself because they are not satisfied. But today, you changed the lock. You closed the door they used to come and go like a familiar place. And most importantly, you have taken back control of your inner self. You don't have to win the argument. You don't have to talk it out. You don't need to conclude who is right and who is wrong. For real victory is when you no longer need to speak. You know you're right. You know what I've been through. And you know what's worth keeping and what's worth letting go. Indifference is not cruelty. It is the ultimate form of self-protection. You are not hurting anyone. You just stop giving them access to your inner world. And if someone ever looks down on you, used you, ever tried to control your emotions, then your indifference today is the final bell for all those games. They no longer live in your head. No more tiring yourself out with assumptions and fears. You have stepped out. You're back. No announcement. No fuss. You just shut up and live better. And in this noisy world, the one who doesn't need to speak is the one who is truly strong. Let me tell you a true story. She used to love him with all her heart. She's not perfect, but she's sincere. She is always the one to apologize. Always tries to make amends. Always believes that love can heal everything. And he, quietly back out of the relationship. Not by words, but by actions. Cold words, indifferent glances, late nights without explanation. Then one day, she discovered the truth. He cheated, not just once. What do you think she did? No screaming, no holding back. Do not post blame on social media. She packed everything in silence. She left the key, and left, without a word. Really, she was silent, not because she is weak, but because she clearly understood. If someone can deceive you that easily, then any explanation is just an act. She didn't need to hear any more. She needed release. 6 months later, she got a new job. Exercise regularly. Start going to therapy. Smile more. And for the first time in years, she felt at peace. What about him? At first, he thought she would come back like every other time. But she didn't, so he started texting. Just wanted to know if you were okay. I miss you. I've thought about it a lot. She read, but did not reply. Not for hate, but because there is nothing more to say. You see, sometimes silence is the loudest answer. Not every breakup needs to be fought. Not every injury needs to be named. Some pain, you just need to let go and walk away. And it was that silence, the drama-free departure, that made people feel more tormented than any words. He used to think he was upgrading when he got someone new. But what he didn't expect was, the woman he once despised has become someone he is no longer qualified to approach. And that is the real outcome. No need to retaliate. No need to show them they are wrong. Just be better. Be more calm. Be more stable, and stop waiting for apologies. Silence is not an escape. Silence is the choice of those who have matured to the point of not wanting to continue wasting themselves on things that are not worth it. And if you are in a similar situation, if someone ever hurt you but expected you to react, remember this: your silence may be the only thing that makes them look at themselves. Not to turn back, but to realize, what did they lose? Here's something interesting about betrayal. At first, the wrongdoer often thinks he has won. They think they are smarter than you. They think they are getting out of a relationship they no longer want to keep. They think they can start over without any consequences. And you are the one left with the pain. You are the one being questioned, judged, abandoned. They happily posted photos. They travel, live as if nothing happened. While you are sleepless, you ask yourself, is there something wrong with me? Am I not good enough? Are they really happy? But then time passed, and what you don't see is what's going on inside them. Punishment does not always come from outside, but comes from the collapse within. They began to feel lost. Start realizing that new relationships cannot replace the real feelings you once had for each other. They began to realize they had lost someone who truly loved them, just to pursue temporary selfishness. They no longer have control over their own image. People around them gradually see the hypocrisy and repetition in the way they treat others. And then, they were isolated. No noise, no drama. Just little by little, everything fell away from them. Trust, respect, inner peace. Meanwhile, you were different. You are no longer the weak person you once were. You learn to face the pain instead of running away from it. You dare to look the truth in the face, and you become stronger for it. You start taking care of yourself. You don't need anyone's approval. You live peacefully, no noise, no need to prove. You start shining, not because you want anyone to regret it, but because you deserve it. And that's when they realized they don't just lose you, they lost their only chance to have someone who truly loved them. You don't need to go back to win. No need for them to admit their mistakes. No one on the outside needs to see you for you to be right. Because the best thing you can have is peace within yourself. And the worst thing they face is a loneliness in their souls that no one else can heal. The one who betrayed you will have to face the consequences, not in the screams, but in the silence that comes from within themselves. The real punishment is when they look back and realize the person they once looked down on, now they are no longer qualified to touch. One of the hardest things to accept after a betrayal is no explanation was given. No, sorry. No, you were wrong. No, I hurt you. And you deserve to know why. They just left. Or worse, stay and pretend nothing happened. And you sit there, repeating hundreds of unanswered questions over and over in your head. You try to find closure, a clear, logical, understandable ending to let go of. But then you realize the closure you are waiting for will never come, because the one who hurt you is no longer here to heal. They have moved on, maybe with someone else, or with a new story, while you are stuck in memory, like a movie with no ending. And that's when you need to hear this. You don't need closure, because you are the end. You are the one who has the right to choose to let go. You are the one who decides to stop the bloodshed in a war where the other side doesn't even hold weapons anymore. You don't need an apology to heal. You need a decision that you've been in enough pain, that you don't want to carry this wound into tomorrow, that you no longer want to waste energy on someone who is unrepentant. And you don't need anyone to confirm you're right, because your maturity is the strongest proof. You know, there are people who are silent not because they are heartless, but because they do not have the courage to face the truth. They avoid it because they are afraid of taking responsibility. And you will wait forever if there is any hope that they will become the person they were meant to be. But you can't expect remorse from someone who never took your hurt seriously. You can only write your own ending. The ending needs no witness, no need for anyone's consent. Just look at yourself and say, I'm enough. I'm not going to go down this path anymore. And in that moment, you gave yourself the closure you've been waiting for. You don't need an ending with sad music, tears, or a belated apology. You just need to step out with firmer feet, and every step you take is an end to the past. Don't let their silence echo in your heart. You can choose your own silence, but the silence of someone who has ended. No more regrets, no more waiting, no more trying to understand, because sometimes not everyone deserves to be understood, but you deserve peace. There are battles in life you win not by defeating others, but by surpassing yourself. No need to argue, no need to argue, no need to prove who is right or wrong, because one day, they themselves will see. The people who made you doubt your self-worth. Laugh when you fall. Who left you when you needed them the most? Now, they are watching you from afar. You don't have to say anything. No need to post pictures of living well to make them regret. No need to tell anyone how you got through it, because the change in you says it all. They see you as stronger. They see you not making the same mistakes again. They see your eyes no longer searching for approval, but radiating calm and self-possession. And they know they no longer have the right to enter your life like before. They thought you would always come back, thought they might go around and come back, and you would still be waiting. But they were wrong, because the person standing before them now, no longer the friend of the past. You went through the pain alone. You learned to stand up without anyone lifting you up. You have grown, not because of anyone, but because of the wounds they left. And now, your presence is no longer based on emotion, but from choice. You choose peace. You choose the boundary. You choose not to give anyone the chance to destroy what you spent so much time rebuilding. That's why you don't need to win. Because the truth is you've already overcome it. You win when you don't need to speak and others understand you. You win when you don't need revenge and they still feel guilty. You win when they want to come back and you no longer see any reason to open the door. Not for hate, not because of arrogance, but because you've gone so much further than that. There is a saying I really like. The greatest success is not to make others regret, but to no longer need them. And that's what you're living. You don't need a deal. You don't need a reconciliation. Just keep at it, and when they see you, they will realize they lost someone they would never get back. Not because you changed to be better than them, but because you have grown beyond the version that was hurt by them. In the end, you realize you don't have to shout that you've passed. You don't need to lecture anyone about right and wrong, justice and injustice, because sometimes the greatest victory is not in applause. It lies in the peace within you. You're no longer the person who cried in the bathroom over a cold text. No longer the person who tried every way to hold on to someone who no longer appreciated me. You have come a long way. No one witnessed, no one cheered, just you and the resilience you built in silence. The person who hurt you may still be living as if nothing happened. They may never apologize, never admit mistakes, but that doesn't matter anymore. Because they lost you, not because you hate them, but because you have learned to love yourself more. You choose to leave not to punish them, but to free yourself. You choose silence not because you have nothing to say, but because you no longer see the need to waste another word. You choose to live well, to live kindly, not for them to regret, but because you know you deserve a life that is no longer dragged down by people who can't love you properly. You have been a victim. Now you are a lesson. Not that you expect anyone to wake up, but because your maturity is the clearest proof that they no longer have any influence on you. They may try to come back, text a few lines, "Sorry, I was wrong," or pretend to miss you when you're shining. But you won't open the door again. Not because you are mean, but because you know peace is more valuable than any return. Maybe you've been waiting for the day they get it. I wanted them to look back and say, if only at that time I hadn't lost you. But the truth is, you don't need that to close the old chapter. You don't need them to wake up. You just need peace. And this peace is something they can never have, no matter how many times they return. Your silence, your maturity, your success, it is the biggest lesson they will learn, belatedly. You don't have to win in anyone's eyes. You just have to win in your heart. And today, you did it. No more anger. No need to end with a painful conversation. No reason. No explanation. Just keep going, with a strong heart, and a peaceful mind. And if this story touches you, leave a comment below, share your feelings, or just a dot to let me know you're here, going through something together. Don't forget like video, subscribe channel and turn on the notification bell because what's coming next will continue to accompany you on your journey of healing and growth. And remember, you are not alone, we are stronger together. Every day.